Welcome, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Good morning. Hello. As you get seated and comfortable in your cushy virtual seats for our 9 o'clock session this morning, thank you for being here so early in the morning. I hope you have coffee or some other amazing beverage to join you during our time together. As you come in, if you've been with us before, you'll know this start to our welcome. But if you're new to us, please take the time. Either way, please take the time and put your name and your email address and the campus that you work at or attend and your role into the chat function for us, please. That helps us to stay connected with you, know who's here, be able to share resources with you and share this recorded session with you once the hamster wheels have turned and it is recorded and set to go. We'll give folks just another minute to join and do that, and then we can do some introductions. Our session today is going to focus on how to use Canvas tools to give feedback and to allow students to give feedback. So once again, if you're just joining us, please take a moment as you get virtually situated to place your name, your email address, the campus that you are affiliated with, and your role at that campus in the chat for us, please. How are we feeling, Devin? Should we give it a couple more minutes? Feeling good? Okay, let's do some introductions as folks continue to join. They can get that information in the chat and we'll get us started here. So again, thanks for being here. My name is Nicole Bryant Lesher. I'm English faculty at College of the Redwoods and a coordinator with 3CSN and your virtual navigator today through this session, if you will. And I am joined by my two amazing colleagues who are making this session work behind the scenes, which is actually significantly harder than what I'm doing. So I would love to have them introduce themselves to you.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Devin Werble. I am a full-time coordinator with 3CSN. I also teach at LA Valley College in the LA District and Pierce College, also in the LA District. I'm going to be managing admitting people into this room. I'm also going to be managing the group chat. So if any questions are coming up for you as Nicole goes through the session today, please go ahead and place those in the chat box. We're not going to interrupt her flow, but we are going to have some structured time for questions and answers towards the end. If you're having any logistical or technical issues, I will address those as those come up. And just to note that this session is being recorded, and we will, as Nick mentioned earlier, once we get the transcript of this, we will make sure it's available for everybody. Thank you all so much.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, okay, great. This is Jan Connell, yes. And I am a counselor at Cerritos College. And like Devin, I'm here to support Nick and make sure that everything gets accomplished behind the scenes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I also like that Devin assumes I have a flow. That makes me feel like really functional first thing in the morning. So we're going to go with that assumption. I have this virtual background behind me that looks really flowy. So I feel like all things are coming together well on this Thursday morning. So let's get rocking and rolling, shall we? Only if I have this clicked correctly so that I can advance slides. There we go. So again, thank you so much for being here. This is one session within our larger umbrella of the online wayfaring series that we are offering as 3CSN right now. And all of the sessions within that series have three guiding objectives that help us to make decisions about what we share and how we design these sessions to serve you. That first and most important objective is that these sessions hopefully create a sense of community within online environments in order to support student engagement and retention, not just by delivering tools to you, but by modeling the types of environments that you can create with students so that you feel confident enough to extend that into the spaces where you're working with students virtually right now. We are also dedicated to learning together. As always, it's one of our core values in 3CSN to support our professional identity and that development of that professional identity as it relates to an online environment specifically right now. And then last, but certainly not least, to provide all of you as part of our network with opportunities to dialogue, share, build and strengthen knowledge, and engage in that productive struggle. And certainly we feel that really tangibly right now, right? That productive struggle of like, oh my gosh, I've got so many things to do. I don't quite know what I'm doing. And my students need me to be there. How does that work? How do I feel like I can thrive in this environment rather than just dog paddle and survive, right? And by collaborating with each other, that can be a huge bridge from moving from I don't know what I'm doing or I feel overwhelmed to I kind of know what I'm doing, but I also know that I have this broader community that can help support me through this time. 3CSN's theory of change really speaks to that and says that if we as a network provide training and use those action research methodologies, we as community college professionals can transform our environments and our identities to produce powerful learning. And in a time like this, especially when there are external factors that are altering our environments and causing massive transformation, holding in that sense that it is our connections through networking and our engaging in learning that will bolster us, really helps keep us going forward, even when it feels challenging. This particular session is going to focus on creating feedback through online tools via Canvas, right, which is the learning management system that our community colleges have. And so specifically what we're going to do is spend about 25 to 30 minutes, as Devin mentioned, sort of front loading some modeling and discussion of, like me sharing with you, discussion of tools in Canvas you can use to create feedback as an instructor, but also to foster student-to-student feedback, okay? And then towards the end of the session, we're going to have about 10 minutes that's open for Q&A. So what you can do as a participant right now is that as you're watching, I would invite you to think about it the same way as you would invite your students in a face-to-face class learning situation where you say, hey, I'm going to show you how to do something. Have a piece of notebook paper or a digital document open. And as questions come up for you that are like deeper dive questions, follow-up questions, make a note of those in some workspace that you have, whether that's, you know, handwritten or digital. And then when we get to that later portion of our time together, that's a great time to open up for those more in-depth or more personalized questions, right? That allows for that first 25 minutes or so together. A lot of the questions that you have might get answered during that time, right? Just like they do in a class meeting. If you have technological questions, something isn't working, you can't see something, those are great moments to reach out to Devin on the chat. And we can pause, check, make sure folks are getting what they need, or Devin in real time, in the most amazing thing I've ever seen, can actually type back answers to you to help you while we're going. So, so let's try and hold in that plan. And while we're thinking about plans that we make together, I'd love to take a moment to invite us to develop some shared learning approaches and agreements for our time together today, right? And so we've been really fortunate. This is our second week of doing these sessions. So we came in with some ideas as coordinators of what would make these sessions successful in terms of supporting all of you as a group online learning together. And then we've had additional suggestions added by our participants. For the benefit of time, what I'd love to do is to invite you to read these and take about 1 minute to think, is there anything missing? Are there any additional norms or community agreements we should add to this list to help us work together well today? Because some folks may be joining solely by phone or not have strong visual opportunities with their screen, might be on a tiny device, etc. I'm going to go ahead and read these aloud for you. So some of the agreements that we see are working really well for learning together online include a note to either raise your hand digitally, which happens either at the top or at the bottom of your screen on Zoom, and it's a hand that looks like a high five. It's next to the chat. So either raise your hand digitally or simply type a question in as a way to signal a question. For us to assume best intentions with large group online dialogue. It doesn't work as naturally or with as much of an intuitive flow as it would if we were all together. So just keeping that in our gray matter. I will do my best to annotate or describe my actions for those with limited viewing ability or audio only options, such as reading the screen or when we get into modeling things, talking through what I'm doing to assist with that process. And then some great suggestions we've had from the field. First, for all of us to remember to keep in mind that we're all learners right now, right? And we're doing our best. Our students are learners, they're doing our best. And so to give ourselves that little bit of cushion, kindness, and grace, that it's okay to ask clarifying questions. The way that I might model something may or may not create clarity for someone, and those clarifying questions help to tailor that information for you. For all of us to remember to keep things simple, both for ourselves and for our students, and to be kind to ourselves and to our students. Is there anything we should add to this list at this time to make this community agreement set more comprehensive for our particular group? If you've got anything, just add it right in the chat, and Devin can get it to me. And while you're thinking about that chat, if you've not yet done so, add your name and your college and your email in there too, so that we know you're here and we can reach out to you. How we looking, Devin and Jan?
I don't see anything added as of yet. I'm just doing some technical stuff.
Sounds good.
But yeah, nothing added as of yet.
Okay.
People may be happy with our list.
That works. That works. Alrighty, rightness. Depending on the day, sometimes when I go to continue presenting, I am absolutely able to pick it right back up. And then other times we go back to the beginning just like that. And then I click really fast. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with looking at those opportunities to give feedback in an online environment. 2 quick reminders as we go into this. First, that the students are more nervous than you are, right? Oftentimes our students appear to be radically technologically savvy. They have cooler devices than we do. They're faster on them than we are. But when they are asked to translate those skills into an online learning environment, there's a disconnect. And so, and they know it. So they are quite nervous when they engage with us in online learning environments. And so if we can hold that in our minds when we think about how we communicate with them, it creates these wonderful opportunities for connection and norming of that discomfort as part of the transition to being in an online learning environment. They're also going to have varied levels of skill and access, right? So what that should translate to for you as a designer is that simple is really good. It's good for you, it's good for them. Clear is really important, right? Often less is more. So you might be thinking, how do I comment on an assignment submitted in Canvas? So my students have done a thing, right? I've asked them to do a thing, they've done a thing. Now, what do I do with that? What are my options for giving them feedback on that? Especially if how I would typically give them feedback in class is no longer a way in which I can give them feedback, right? So the answer to that question is you have lots of options. Let's walk them through. But before we can look at those options, it's important to know how to access student work on Canvas, right? You can't give feedback on a thing you don't know how to find. So first, let's help you find it so that you can see it, okay? So we're gonna go to Gradebook. This is my sandbox, right? It's actually my department sandbox. They're letting me use it. And so you may or may not have a sandbox attached to your Canvas account. It depends on the college and what has been set up. by your distance ed department. But a sandbox is a virtual space with no real students in it where you can design stuff and then copy it or move it to live courses. And so it's really useful for us right now because it's basically functioning like a cooking show that you're in, where I can virtually bake things that aren't real and show you them as if they were real without putting you in contact with live student information, right? So what you have in here is a bunch of demo assignments that I have built. When you go to Gradebook, in your course, you'll see this note over here that says grades. You click on it, and then you will see a Gradebook. I also want to show you, let's see, can I do it really quickly? I bet I can. Maybe not. I thought I had it right here for you, but it does not look like I do. I had a scan of what a regular Gradebook looks like without the student information. So I'll just annotate what that would look like for you. In your classes, you have more than one student, right? You probably have 25, 30, 35 students. And so this grid on Gradebook is actually going to extend all the way down the page. And each student will have a row, right? It'll be the student's name, and then all of the assignments will crawl to the right of that student's name. Because we're in the baking show world of my fake course, I only have one student, and that's this fake test student. So that's why this looks so empty. Right? In your course, it will look just like a grid, right? With students on the left and then their content on the right. So in Gradebook is where I'm going to find what students have done, right? Where I'm going to see their submissions, and they're organized by the assignment that I have built for them. And so if I want to go in and give feedback, I need to go into the actual thing that the student has done. So for example, right, if you look at this first box here, past my poor student who's demoing everything these days, test student, you'll see that there's a Unit 2 discussion on banana slugs, but my test student has not submitted a response to that discussion forum. I live in the far north, by the way, so like, you know, high five to banana slugs. That's how we roll up here. So I can't grade what isn't there, right? I can put in a score of 0 to show that the student didn't do it, but I can't give feedback on a thing that isn't there. What I can do is come to something where there is feedback. And so in this case, this is discussion forum 1, week 10. I can see by this icon that there is something here. So I can click on this assignment, and then Canvas gives me some choices. It says, do you just want to put a score in, or do you want to engage further and go deeper? And so I could just put in a score. Maybe this is a did you do it, did you not do it? I would probably still really want to look at it and not just assume that there's an icon that means that something was submitted, but I leave that up to you. Should you want to know more, when you click into the box where the assignment is, you're going to get this option with an arrow that points to the right. If you click on that arrow, I have to keep moving my head around here, sorry. Once you click on that arrow, it's going to open up this vertical bar on the right-hand side that gives you more information. It tells you the student name, it tells you the assignment, it tells you the total points that the grade was out of, or the assignment was worth. And then it gives you a couple other choices, right? It tells you that you can go and know more through something called the speed grader, so you can go and interact further. You could make a note to yourself on whether this assignment was submitted late or missing. If it's missing, it's not really there, you know, maybe they attached the wrong document, whatever. Or if a student is excused from this. These don't impact the grade in any way unless you set up some complicated stuff to do so. It's really just a forward-facing color coding system for you to use as instructor if you want to. It also gives you a very basic place to add comments. But if I want to know more about this, I really need to click on this choice. It says Speed Grader right underneath the assignment with a checkbox. When I click on Speed Grader, now I'm actually going to see the assignment, right? So I'll see the discussion posts that this student has done, right? And so when I'm in a discussion forum grading it, I can see that student's initial post. I can also see all the posts that student has done to other people, right? So if we're talking about students giving feedback to each other, students engaging with each other, one way in which I can sort of hover over the top and monitor how that activity is going is I could go look at the discussion forum, but I can also come in here to the gradebook and see, okay, this student posted once and responded to one student. On the right-hand side is where I start to be able to add feedback, right? So I can add the minimum feedback, and I don't even know if I'd call it feedback. I can score something, right? But a score is not really giving feedback. It's simply saying this is what you earned, right? I can also start to add comments in a box here, right? So just to summarize kind of where we got and where we are before we do something else, I started in the gradebook. When an assignment has been submitted, I'm going to know because there's an icon. I'm going to click on that icon. I could put a score, or I can advance and know more by clicking on the arrow to the right. It will give me a bar. If I want to know even more from there, I can click into SpeedGrader, which lives under the assignment. Now I have the actual, I can see the actual content, what the student has submitted, what they've written, what they've done, etc., their work. And then I have more options of how I can give them feedback. The other benefit of getting into SpeedGrader is once I'm in here, I don't have to go back to the gradebook to look at every assignment. So let's imagine I had 30 students and not one. When I'm done with grading this student, I could simply choose this arrow bar at the top on the right to advance to the next student within SpeedGrader. So once I'm in that SpeedGrader interface, I can continue to comment on several students in a row. I don't have to go back to that overall grid of the gradebook unless I want to. Should I want to go back, the way that I get back is by choosing the icon on the left. So take a second, process that. I'm going to take us back to our PowerPoint. Again, if questions are coming up for you, by all means, either write them in a space so that when we get to them a little bit later, you can post them to Devin. Okay. So before I show you how to do those comments, let's just give a bit of brief overview on what your options are and how commenting works in Canvas. So Canvas allows you to create several different types of grading situations. And I'm being really specific with my language here because by default, I call things assignments. I think many people do, but Canvas uses that word really specifically, right? So I could create a graded situation just like we saw that's a discussion forum, right? I could create a graded situation that is a quiz. Canvas doesn't call those things assignments. Canvas calls a thing where you develop a container, whether that's a container like a Dropbox where students upload something, or a container like a text box where students type into it. That particular type of graded situation, Canvas calls an assignment. And so when you're creating graded situations in your class, if you go to build those and Canvas says, do you want an assignment? And you say yes, what you're saying is, I want a box where people can upload something, or I want a text box they can type into. It is a separate choice from quizzes and discussions, okay? Why this matters on top of building it is that the type of graded situation drives what kinds of feedback you can give, okay? So assignments and discussion forums have much more flexibility in terms of how you can give feedback. Quizzes are less flexible. And as someone, speaking from my own experience of teaching online for several years, I have very particular spaces where I use quizzes, and I find that I don't use them often because they do require more attention on my part in the building. They give me less flexibility, and if something goes sideways, they're harder to redirect than a discussion forum or an assignment. So I really think carefully before I default to using a quiz, because they're just not as user-friendly as some of the other choices. So while we're in that space of talking about graded activities and the lingo Canvas uses, again, Canvas uses an assignment as a container for student work. Could be a text box, could be a place where they upload a file, right? And that file could be any type of work that you see as necessary for your class, right? So they could be uploading an essay, they could be uploading a completed handout where you give them the handout digitally and it's got instructions on it, and you say, download this, fill it out, upload it into the assignment Dropbox, right? If you're working in a discipline where you need students to show their work, and showing that work doesn't typically happen through typed spaces digitally, like maybe they're solving a math problem, or they're annotating a text or something where you in a face-to-face environment, you would see their handwriting. You could ask students to take a photo of their work and upload that photo. Or there's lots of free photo to scan apps that you can put on your phone and students can put on their phone. I'm literally looking on my phone right now to tell you mine. And I'm going to add the disclaimer that this is not an advertisement for that app. This happens to be the one that I have on my phone. But I use an app called Clear Scanner. And you literally just take a photo, and then that photo on your phone will turn into a PDF. You can choose to turn it into a PDF, and then you can email it, upload it, whatever. So you could also make those suggestions to your students if them working in a handwritten environment is something that is part of how you process your thinking and how they demonstrate their work.
Nick, can you say the name of that application again?
You bet. It's called Clear Scanner. I have a Samsung phone, right?
Okay.
And it's called Clear Scanner. Yep.
Okay.
I used to have a different app, and it kind of got a it's no longer good. And so my 2.0 was Clear Scanner.
I placed it in the chat.
Yeah. Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Maybe Clear Scanner will send me like a bouquet of flowers or something. Promoted them. So again, that's assignments, right? Containers or text boxes. Discussion forums can be graded. They can also be ungraded, but they can absolutely be graded. And if you set it up correctly, it can accept attachments from students. And there's a particular box you have to check. I'll show you that. Devin, if you can try and be my brain to remind me that during our Q&A area or towards the end to show folks how to add a paperclip function for students.
Sure.
I will show you how to do that. Last but not least, quizzes can be set up to auto grade, especially if you're doing questions that are multiple choice or fill in the blank or true false. They can also be used for essay or short answer, where you would be going in and grading those responses individually. So we've looked at where you see those submissions, which is Gradebook. And then we've looked at where you go within Gradebook to give feedback and to score, which is SpeedGrader. But now let's go a little deeper, right? We know how to get there. We know where we're going. We know what our assignments are. Now let's play around in there a little bit, okay?
I need to,
really quickly, we have someone that wants you to go back now 2 slides. Let's see.
1, 2.
Is this the right one?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
You bet. And we're going to send these PowerPoints to you also.
Yeah, just a reminder for those of you that have just joined, we are recording this and we'll send you all of the PowerPoint and the recording of it.
But we can only send you all the information if you type your name and your college and your email address and your role into the chat function.
Awesome.
Okay, then we're buddies. Then we're communication buddies. Are we good to rock and roll?
Are we good? I think we're good.
Bonus.
Okay. Go ahead.
So Canvas allows for written feedback and audio feedback. And I'm going to show you those in 20 seconds. Written feedback you can give on where you give overall comments, all types of graded activities, right? So whether it's a quiz, a discussion forum, an assignment, all of those you can put written overall comments following the assignment. In terms of giving like annotated comments or comments in the margin, that has to be a file upload, right? It's a specific type of graded activity and assignment for that to happen. And the file has to be either doc format or RTF. If your students upload a PDF, you can see it, but you can't comment on it. And if they upload a Pages document from Mac, I don't know how it works if you're a Mac user, but if you're a PC user, no bueno, there's nothing, I can't see it, right? I have to ask them to submit it in another form. I believe they can also upload Google Docs. Do you know, Devin? Yeah?
Yeah, they can upload a Google Doc, but just, I don't know, for ease of purposes, I usually have students upload a a PDF, and then I use SpeedGrader and I can annotate in SpeedGrader.
And then with quizzes, you can create situations where you give instant feedback, right? So like, let's say you have multiple choice questions. You can go into that quiz and say, okay, if they choose this answer, and then you're going to allow them to see their answers and the correct answers later, they can get those blurbs from you instantly after they've completed a quiz about what you want to say about that question. So let's take a look at how written comments happen. So here we're back to that discussion forum assignment, right? So if you recall, and I went through it quickly, discussion forums allow you to give written feedback in overall comments, right? So right here, I could score this. Maybe it's a 10 out of 15 based on whatever my criteria is for discussion forum interaction. And then I can give overall feedback right here, okay? I can also do a number of other things directly beneath this comment box. So the far left choice is that I can attach something as an instructor. I find this really useful when I am noticing trends or patterns in what students need, right? So like most of you, I'm assuming the first assignment that comes in the semester, if you've been teaching that class for a while, you know the top 5 things students are going to struggle with. And so you can type out maybe a handout, right? A digital document with those top 5 things and name it like common places to strengthen or whatever, right? And then you can make a note to them individually, but then upload that common places to strengthen as an attachment following your feedback. You could also link, upload a tool, some other type of document or handout that you think would be helpful for them. The middle space allows for media comments. So if I click on that, this is where things get really cool, okay? We're in a bit of a meta environment because I'm recording to you, but this is also recording, so there's some things I can show you and some I can't, but just hang with me. So if I choose that media, upload media comment box, I'm gonna have this box open and it's gonna give me some choices, right? The first is I can record right here. And it actually works really well. Canvas's function for this works really well. I can choose my microphone on the left, whether it's the one on my laptop or if I have an external mic that I've included. I record comments all the time. I'm on a laptop right now. I record comments all the time just from my laptop speakers. They work fine. I have a more fancy mic in my office, but I don't always use it. I don't need to. This works fine. You can also turn on your webcam so that when you're giving feedback via the audio function, you can also be visually communicating to them. They can see your face. Okay. So if I want to do that, I literally just click start recording. I get 3, 2, 1, and then I can start to create an audio comment. Okay. There are so many benefits to making audio comments for your students, right? Especially if this was a face-to-face class that you are moving into an online environment. There is no substitute for them getting to hear the tenor of your voice when you are giving them feedback on an assignment, right? I find it particularly moving to give students audio comments, and they find it moving because if I'm excited, they hear it, right? Like if they did something amazing, they hear it in my voice in a way that just saying like, wow, this is great in type doesn't get anywhere near how motivating it feels, how good they feel if they hear my excitement. If they've done something that is not working well, right? Something seriously needs to be strengthened, or I've had to give them a lot of feedback of like, this needs to be changed, this needs to be developed, this isn't there yet. It's also really critically important that they hear my voice, because I can choose to make those comments with care, kindness, and genuine, like, I want to help you get there, to norm that experience of something not going successfully as a student. And so I find that my students are much more likely to choose to revise an assignment, to feel like, I didn't do good on this, but my teacher wants me to try again when I use audio comments. Because they hear that not as criticism, but is genuine kindness for trying to help them get there, right? So this entire time I've been saying this to you, it's been recorded on here. I can tell how long I've gone, right? And it doesn't take a lot, right? I just told you a lot of stuff in audio feedback about audio feedback and why it's important in less than 2 minutes. The same thing is true for you giving feedback to your students. You can make a 2-minute audio comment to your students, and it may make the entire difference on whether or not they feel like they have what they need to go to the next level of working on something in a way that text comments just don't. It's really transformative. So if we want to talk about accessibility, what I would say is, you know, if you are concerned that there might be some students who do not want audio comments, or if you just want to make sure that you're being really broad in your way of serving students, prior to doing audio comments for assignments, you can send them a message on Canvas that says, I'm going to partner any written comments on this assignment with audio comments. If you would prefer to receive your comments written, please let me know. I do that in all of my classes, and very, very rarely do I have a student that says, I would prefer those written. Once in a while, but very rarely. So then if you're like, oh shoot, I'm really enjoying giving audio comments, what do I do if somebody wants them written? Canvas has got your back, and I'll show you how to do that in 1 second. Let's take one more look at what you can do in terms of giving audio or AV feedback within this box here. So I can make those audio comments right here in Canvas. If I was not on a webcam recording to you right now, I would also get the choice. Canvas would give me the choice, do I want to integrate my webcam so that they can see my face? Personally, what I would say is use that tool sparingly, because it's a lot of bandwidth to do it. It's bandwidth for you to record your face, and it's bandwidth for your students to be able to see it. So in my classes, I reserve showing my face for when I create lecture videos to them. And when I give feedback, I just do audio. I don't include my face. And they seem fine with that. They don't, that seems to be working just fine for them. So just food for thought. I can also work in a different environment and then upload that media. So sometimes I don't want to be on Canvas because I just don't want to be on Canvas. I'm an English teacher. I miss looking at actually printed papers. Being in the digital environment can be a bit taxing. And so one way for me to sort of distance myself a little from the online environment is that I could be, you know, I could download those assignments, grade them, and on my desktop, I'm going to model this. Can you guys see that? Devin, can you see that? Hold on, I just moved my, can you see the start button? Great, thanks. So on my desktop, and I just have a Dell, right? Maybe Dell's going to send me flowers now too. On my desktop, hey, it's my brother-in-law. There is a function called, let me find it. It's coming. Is it under V? Voice recorder. You have something like this on your computer. It may be called something else. All it does, literally, if I click on it, move my head over. It's literally just a spot where I hit a click and, whoa, too many windows open. Let me close that. There we go. Where you click on it and it'll just record your voice. And then you can save those, right? So if I don't want to be in Canvas, I can just be looking at papers, record my voice, name them after my student, and then come to this box when I do want to go on Canvas, choose select audio file, and then Canvas is going to let me go, you know, it'll take me to my desktop or wherever I'm working, and I can select that specific audio file I've named and add it. So that's how to use this middle button. So many functions you could use with this. Let's talk about this last button. Let's say you have a student who says, yes, I want all my comments written, right? Or you're just not sure if you want to move into giving audio comments yet where they hear you, but you are thinking about how great it would be to not be typing all the darn time, right? Haha, this last button on the right, speech to text. Are you ready for it? It's going to get really cool. Here we go. Hi, test student. I'm so excited that you put this assignment into the Dropbox, but oh my gosh, I can't see it because you uploaded it as a Pages document. Oops, please send me an email or reattach the assignment within the next 24 hours. so that I can give you feedback. I am currently putting a 0 in the grade spot so that it will flag you on Canvas to tell you something is wrong. I will change that grade once you get me the correct file. Have a great afternoon. Done. And then it takes that speech to text, boom, and it puts it right in here. And then I can take a quick look to see, did it not hear anything I said, right? You have been on this webinar with me now for 40 minutes. And so you know that I speak fast. I'm from, the other side of the Mississippi River where speech happens faster. And so I do have to slow myself down just a little bit for speech to text, but it's so wonderful. I can't communicate to you enough the intangible benefits as an instructor of speaking online directly to your students and even the speech to text. There's something that feels really connected about doing things that way with students because it feels more similar to what I would do in a face-to-face environment, right? I would spontaneously communicate with them. And so I'm a big fan. And now you have lots of options of what you could do, right? And so to stay true to my example here, I'm going to put a 0 in here, right? And I'm going to put a 0 with that note. They need to resubmit, because if I don't put a 0 and I just put the message, Canvas isn't going to tell them the thing is graded. So they might not see my comment. But if I put a 0, they're going to see my comment. And then they're going to be motivated to hustle up and get the right file in there, right? I typically follow that up with an email as well. Wraparound notes. Okay? But there's that comment. So that's talking about all those AV options, right? Audio comments, video comments, speech to text. One more place of written commenting that I want to show you before we switch to Q&A. Let's go back to our baking show here on the left in the gradebook. I've shown you so far how to grade a discussion forum. Let's take a look at a document. So I don't want that one, I think is a text box. So let me, I want this essay. This is what I want. Okay. So again, I'm going to click on the assignment. I'm going to click to the right where I get now my vertical menu, and then I'm going to click into SpeedGrader. And because this is a document upload, I now have significantly more opportunities to make something happen with this. So this is a fake paper, but imagine it's a real paper, and imagine that it's been submitted, and here I'm the instructor and I'm going to give feedback on this. And it doesn't have to be a paper. You could have students type out their thinking in terms of a scientific experiment or a lab report, or anything that comes in a document form, right? So then once I'm in SpeedGrader with this type of graded activity, I have all these other choices of how I can annotate. What I would say here, as is true when you are giving feedback on paper, less is more, right? If you have a line-by-line comment on every line, students are not going to be able to absorb all that feedback, right? So think really carefully about how heavily you annotate. Choose to annotate the things that are most important, most high order for them to strengthen or to know that they're doing well, rather than crowding the space, crowding the margins. Okay. That's just English teacher experience right there. So here's this document. Probably the feature I use most is the one that looks like a hot air balloon, where it just allows me to take this little hot air balloon and drop it someplace and put a comment. So then it gives me this box, and I could say, like, excellent analysis here. Tell me more. What do you think is causing this change? How might readers better understand the issue through adding outside sources to support your opinions? We're doing this in real time, so you can also see, oh, thank goodness that there is spell check, right? So you can typity type. It will tell you the words that you've made that don't actually exist in the real world, and then you can make them real words. There you go. Okay. So hot air balloon is comments. The highlight function is great for saying like, look right here. I'm going to highlight this line, look right here. Okay. Make sure you're using Firefox. I think that's the best. If you want to use the highlight function, use Firefox. Chrome, I think it's because some of this is Flash enabled. Chrome doesn't always like to play nicely with some of these annotated tools. And the particular annotated tools that Chrome says like, oops, nope, sorry, is the highlight function and the strike through function. Okay. For whatever reason, like sometimes you're just doing it and it's just not happening. Okay. We may experience that today because I'm currently on Chrome. So let's take a look at the strike through function. Again, an English teacher recommendation, don't use red. Just don't do it. Don't do it. It freaks people out. They don't actually read your comments. They're so horrified there's red on their paper. So you can choose different colors over here. Dark blue is a lovely color to give to people with something, right? So you could come through a line and you could use that strike through function where it goes right over the text. And then it gives you this icon on the right where you can make a right click and you can come in and say something and say like, actually, I don't think you need the joining preposition here. Boy, I sound English teachery right now, don't I? There you go. Okay. And so that strike through says like, nope, we don't need that. Okay. You can also use this paintbrush to do whatever the heck you want to with wider or thinner lines in any color. I use this sometimes to circle something and then make a note, right? Like, whoa, wait, check on this. Okay. So it gives me a way to draw their eye that's different from a highlight function. So once again, isn't this cool? And also, it's not available for everything. It's available for uploaded documents or PDFs that you can interact with or RTF documents, right? So Microsoft Doc, PDFs you can interact with or RTF documents. Everything else, you're going to be able to give, I think you can give comments in the margin potentially, but you cannot go in and actually do anything on the text. Is that right, Devin?
Yeah, that is right.
So I would have the hot, so I could probably have the hot air balloon, but that's maybe it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. But now you're thinking about all these cool things you could do in your class. Yeah.
Really quickly, Nick, while you were in there with the annotation, there was a question about once you make those comments, how does a student see it?
Fantastic. So there's two things I'm going to say to you. One, it's complicated. Two, we're going to get you the resource for it, right? I could walk you through how to do that right now. And then you would know for about 8 minutes how to do it. And then when you attempt to go explain it to your students, you're going to be like, wait, what? And so it's a shortcoming of Canvas that students don't default to seeing their annotated comments. What they default to seeing is their grade and those overall comments, which would include your audio comments. But if they want to dig deeper and know more, they have to peel back a layer in their grade book. So I can quickly show you, but I also would say that the best way to do this is to link Canvas itself, like the Canvas how-tos. There is one of those for how to see graded feedback. Make a note, I'll also show you how to do that in a second. And you can link that for your students and then just remind them, right? When you release an assignment, say, I annotated comments on these. Remember, you're not going to see that. Go in to see it. Here's how. So I'm going to pretend to be a student for a moment. How I do that, how you can do that as well, is that when you're in your class, you got to go back to that front page where your modules lived. You can come down here under settings on the far left. You can choose student view. And then you get to pretend to be a student and you will see what your students see. Okay. Once you're there, you can go into gradebook. And now you are your test student, right? Which means you are yourself being a student. It gets a little meta. Anyway, you can come in here and this is what your student's going to see, right? So here's that discussion on banana slugs. They can see that they didn't contribute to it, right? They got a big old nothing here because they didn't put anything in, right? They can see that they submitted something to optional extra credit, but it hasn't been graded yet. Anything that's been graded, they can see I've given them feedback because you get this little like discussion bubble over here on the right. So let's go into that essay on ice cream, which is right here. If I click on the comments, is it going to let me see it? It will. If I click on the comments, I can see any comments I gave and then what the instructor gave back. But if I want to actually see the assignment, I'll see my score. I've got to click. Oh, it's not letting me do it. I maybe can't show you how to do this in Student View. Total bummer. So the answer that I will give you is we will make sure we connect you to the resource in Canvas. Let me show you how to get that. I'm going to remove myself from Student View as soon as I can find my button to do that. And come back here to my overall spot. There it goes. Down here at the bottom, it says leave Student View. So let's say you want to know how to do a thing in Canvas, or you know how to do it, but you don't want to have to try and write up the explanation for it. You can come over here to your course, come over to the left, and you're going to see all of these different choices that you have, right? And one of those choices is, let me find it. Or is it on the right? Sorry, we're having an RA moment where we discover together. Do you know where it is? Is it over here, Devin?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
what do you
it's right here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's underneath your teacher face and your courses. You're going to see this thing that says help. You click on help and it gives you a lot of choices, right? I bet this is an important and very, very busy support hotline happening right now. But you can come down to, let's see, search the Canvas guides. Click on search the Canvas guides. It's going to give you this thing that has all these guides, but I find it most useful to just go to this magnifying glass and put in like how to view annotated comments. Let's see if that gets us there. How do I view annotation feedback comments from my instructor directly on an assignment submission, right? So then I can click on this. And then this literally has been made by Canvas with step-by-step visuals. Here's how you go and look at that thing. Here's all the steps you have to do. And as you're looking at this, you're like, oh, there's a lot of steps. So this is that moment where I say you could take this URL, copy it, go into your course, and you could either put it as a freestanding thing in a module here that says how to view graded feedback on Canvas, which is what I have in my courses, along with a web video I've made walking them through the steps. Or when you're grading something, as you recall, you have that attachment option, right? So you can go into that assignment, you can give your feedback, and then in SpeedGrader, you can say, please remember to view your annotated comments. This link shows you how, and then you can either link right there, or if you download a page with explanations, you can put it there. And then that shows up for the student so that they can get to it. That's a lot of me modeling stuff. What else can I do for you? Let's talk about what questions you might have and how I can help.
Yeah, so I've been monitoring the questions. Thank you, Nick. Wonderful work. I know it's hard to talk into the ether for that long.
But you're a lovely ether. You all are a lovely ether.
You are all lovely ethers, indeed. So the one question that I wanted to make sure, I think that we just answered this, but it says when you leave a comment, where does the student get it? Is it email or only in Canvas? And if you leave a comment in an assignment, can they respond back?
Yes, yes, and yes. So the answer of where do they get it partially depends on what have they said to Canvas about how they want to get it, right? So the default is that, to my knowledge, the default is that students receive an email when an assignment is graded, okay? And when they click on that, they say your assignment's been graded. When they click on that, it will take them to either their dashboard or the assignment, and they'll see those overall feedback, but not the annotated feedback, okay? Can students give feedback to your feedback? They can. They can also put a comment in when they submit an assignment. This is a sticky situation that it's good to remember when you're on Canvas because it's easy to not notice this. So let's say, like, this is a perfect example. I put in a fake comment here, right? I'm a test student, right? So when I submitted this assignment, I said, hi, professor, I'm a little worried about my thesis. I love my colleague. She came into the sandbox and answered as if she were the professor. So this looks even more real than it would really, right? But how this instructor knew that that feedback was there was that in their email, which I'm only going to pretend show you because it's my actual email, right? There's no way for me to do a fake email. If I go into my inbox, there is a choice that says it defaults to whatever it is, course email, but it's a drop-down menu. And one of the choices under that drop-down menu is called submission comments. That doesn't flag or show you there's anything. You got to go look for it. And so it's in your inbox, and it will say, like, the thing that it defaults to is just email back and forth that you've had with students, but you can choose to drop down to see any submission comments. And that will help you to see if anywhere in your course a student has put a comment on a thing, and then you can link to it to go find it. So it just becomes part of my daily ritual of looking on email is, did somebody put a submission comment on something? And then I have a note in my courses that says I will, respond to Canvas email sent as an email within X amount of hours. If you put comments on something or email me through an outside email, whatever, it's going to take me longer to get back to you because they might not realize that it's not synchronous for you to see all that.
Awesome. Thank you.
What else?
So the other question that came in was, can a student submit multiple attachments into one assignment?
Maybe. I don't know. I know they can attach one. And while we're talking about attachments, let me show you the thing I promised to show you.
Perfect. And then in that same spirit, can you review how a student uploads homework into Canvas? Or, yeah. Okay.
Let's do it in the same place, okay? So if they're uploading homework into Canvas, and if that question means how do they use a Dropbox, okay? The answer for that is that you build one of those types of assignments. We have some sessions that focus more closely on how to build assignments, and we could work through that in one of those online coaching sessions. But if you build an assignment that has, you build an assignment, a new assignment, when you develop that assignment and you add that item, you're going to tailor that item. Once it's published, students they'll have a button that says submit. They can upload, it'll prompt them to upload something, right? As long as you've chosen that you want them to be able to upload a file, which you do when you're developing the assignment. So when you're developing the assignment, you can come in and it defaults to no submission. In other words, students can interact with it, but if you drop it down to online, then you get to choose how do they upload. Do you want them to do a file upload? This is what most people think of with a Dropbox. And then when you choose save, now if a student interacts with that, they're going to have the opportunity to add a file. Okay.
So Nick, when you do that, can you publish that and then go out to student view and show them that assignment where they would hit?
I sure can.
Awesome.
Sure can. So let's go to, let's go home. Let's go home.
Yay, we all are home. I don't want to go home anymore.
Yeah, true story. I have a 3-year-old at home. Does somebody want to come to my home? Oh, we're not allowed to right now. Okay, sorry. All right. So, okay, now I'm in student view. I want to go do an assignment. Let me submit, let's go to this Unit 6 essay assignment. Now, this is a good example because it looks very similar, but now you can see both situations. Let's say I've never submitted. It's going to be a blue button that says submit assignment. Let's say I have submitted and I'm like, oops, wait, wrong thing. I can resubmit the assignment, okay? Or I submitted and it was a Pages document and nobody could read it. So now I'm going back within that 24 hours that my professor gave me to resubmit. I can choose resubmit assignment. And then it's going to instantly down below open up a place to upload a file. So then I'm going to choose that file from wherever it is. And then this is where, as a student, I could put in comments that you wouldn't see as an instructor unless you went to the email and chose submission comments. Okay. And then I can choose submit. And the way that, as a student, I know it's submitted is that I get this checkbox on the right that says submitted, and it gives me the date and the time.
Awesome. Thank you.
The
That's
last
wonderful.
thing I want to show you, I know we're like right up to time.
The paper
is
function,
important.
is that right?
It's
No?
for discussion forums. And
Okay.
It's a thing you have to do. And it is worth it. If you want them to be able to attach in a discussion forum, if you go under settings in your course, and you're in course details, you got to scroll all the way to the bottom of this first tab that says course details and go to more options. You click on more options, and here's all these things that you can either let students do or not do in your class, right? And so you can decide how many announcements will be shown on their homepage. And then down here it says, this top box says let students attach files to discussions. This defaults to being unchecked. So in discussion forums, they will not see a paperclip. If you check this, then in discussion forums, they will see a paperclip underneath the box where they post in discussion forums, which is the prompt to say, do you want to upload something? And this becomes particularly useful if you're using discussion forums as a way for students to peer review and give feedback to each other, which is how I do peer review in my classes. I do not use the peer review function. I use the discussion forum. I want to make sure that I get up some links for you that Devin is also going to put into the chat. The first is actually now just 3csn.org. I need to update my slide, which is the front page of our 3CSN network site, which has all these sessions that we're offering for you. Please continue to join us and learn online together. It's good for all of us. It makes all of us stronger at what we do, and we're so good at sharing brains, and please be with us. Continue to be with us in community. The middle link is to our Padlet, which is this just crazy, amazing, constantly updating, crowdsourced, network-sourced site of resources for you on several different categories. Have a cup of coffee and then go in and look at it. Otherwise, you might be like, whoa, man, there's a lot here. And then the last is we're now calling them virtual coaching sessions, also thought partner sessions, opportunities to deeper dive in a small group. Right? These are frequently a little bit quieter sessions. One of us is in there helping you think through things that are particularly of interest to you or difficult for you with the course, with this transition to online learning. Think about it as just a peer-to-peer opportunity to brainstorm and help.
Awesome.
What else, Devin?
We're good. We're good. Thank you all so much. Once this recording gets edited, we will make sure to send this out to you. We are also compiling an FAQ with all of the questions that are coming up. And so be on the lookout for an FAQ with regards to using Zoom with students, Canvas, and we wish you well and safety and health, and we will hopefully see you again soon. Thank you, Nick, so much. That was wonderful.
Cheers. Thank you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.